Today, Sarah and I are going to make these yard-long beans. Look how long they are. They're called Fagiolini di Sant'Anna. They're grown in Tuscany. I understand they're also grown in California, and that's one more similar thing that California has with Tuscany, not only the wine or the olive oil, but even these beans. We're gonna cut them into a little bit smaller sections. We wash them and let them sit in water with just a bit of baking soda, so if there are any impurities, we are okay. Now, we're gonna crush and cut this garlic into small little slices. We'll probably use about 2 cloves, and crushing it just helps the skin to come off more easily. With my knife, we're just gonna cut them into thin strips, just like so. Normally, they are cooked with Roma tomatoes, but we only had 3, so we're probably gonna use a little bit of the canned tomatoes, some Marzano canned tomatoes. But first of all, we're gonna blanch this in some boiling water. Blanching them will allow us to get the skin off a lot more easily. We're gonna keep them in here, and all of a sudden you will start seeing the skin split, and we'll take them out, put them over some cold water, and the skin will come right off. We're only 30 seconds into it, but look here, it's already splitting. We'll leave them there for just a few more seconds. A minute into it, and we will take them out and just run some cold water over them so they won't burn our hands. We're gonna let them cool for just a second. You see how easily it comes off? But we'll finish cutting the beans up. So we'll get another bunch. And oh, is this dish so good. I'm just gonna cut them into strips about this long. And that's gonna be perfect when serving. Set these aside, right in here, and finish the rest. So these are the stems that we took off from the end of the beans, and one of them was quite ripe, and so I harvested the seeds inside, and I'm wondering if I dry them out, if next year I'll be able to grow some. The skin is coming off really easily. And we're gonna chop these guys up and remove where the branch was. We're just gonna make them into chunks about this big. There, and here is our little part that we need to remove, as well as here. And we'll do this with the rest of them. Here's just a bit of an imperfection. Let's get that out. There. Our oven is lit outside. The pan has been preheating. And now in here, we're going to add the garlic. You want to let them sizzle until they become translucent, and then we will add the beans and the tomatoes. You see they've actually become soft already, but we don't want them to brown because that would alter the flavor. Now to this, we're going to add our beans, as well as the tomatoes. There. And since we don't have quite enough tomatoes, we're also going to add some of these canned tomatoes, and the rest we'll be able to use for a good pomarola to put on top of pasta. Now we're going to put some salt on it. If you see that there is not quite enough liquid, you can add just a bit of water. Just kind of look at it and gauge it that way. Salt to taste, as well as some black pepper, but you can totally omit that. And now we're going to chop a little bit of parsley, and this is ready to go into the oven. As I'm looking here, I may want just a bit more water. So I don't know if you can see in here, it's probably about half a cup to 3/4 of a cup. I'm gonna add just a tad more. And we just want it to be a bit wet underneath. We just picked this parsley in the garden, and we're not gonna need it all. We're gonna remove the harder stems, although like we said before, there's a lot of flavor in these as well. And then chop it up. Use some to actually go in the pot, but the rest we will also put on fresh at the end. So let's just bunch it together like this and cut it nice and fine. So about like this. I'm gonna put this into the pot as well. A little more. Give it a quick stir and then place the lid on top. We have a nice fire going, and with this brush we're going to clean the oven floor. We're going to cover the beans with a lid and slide it inside the oven. We're going to close the door, and when it starts simmering, we're going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. Let's check and see. Yep, they've just begun simmering, and so now we're gonna give them 10 minutes. I almost forgot to say that the damper needs to be turned sideways just a little bit so it allows the heat to retain inside the oven. It is time to take our green beans out. We still want them to be just a little bit firm. Oh, look at there. So good. This is gonna be absolutely delicious. Here we are. I'm gonna put just a bit of fresh parsley on top that we previously chopped, and this is ready to be served. We're gonna take our fagiolini and place them right on this platter, and then we'll top them off with this wonderful tomato sauce. We're gonna pour some of these tomatoes right on top. And our beans are going to be the most delicious and flavorful side dish. Can you imagine getting some bread and dipping it into this sauce? I'm gonna top everything off with a generous drizzle of good olive oil. There. And then just a bit more fresh parsley. And I am going to wish you un buon appetito.